you do?
I am the grants manager for APA.
Ah.
So I'm usually kind of siloed all by myself. So it was really neat to get to hang out with the AMPA crew this weekend. We got to do a site tour on Friday, and then on Saturday we just had some fun after one of our adoption events. So it was nice to get to interact with the crew.
It was so cool. We adopted out nearly 20 post-parvo puppies straight from the parvo ward at Austin Pets Alive. And so for me, it was going right back to my roots, and it made my heart really full. So we will give it just another minute before we get kicked off. Anybody else want to share something fun or exciting? Monica, Frandon, you want to tell us something fun or exciting that you are working on?
Well, I just got home from Baltimore and seeing our amazing friends out at Barks. And we have a webinar coming up with Maddie's Fund and Million Cat Challenge on the 18th. And it is about language that accidentally harms cats, and lots of the words and language that we use every day that we don't realize is either confusing the public or might outright be harmful to cats. So we're going to have a really good time with it. We have a cat trap giveaway happening. We're going to play cat bingo. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. So I'm sure we can drop the link in the chat for it. Yeah, Allison just did. So that is coming up shortly. Danielle Bays and I are going to be giving that, and Dr. Levy will be there moderating. So we're going to have a really good time. Please check it out. I think it's going to be a really good one.
Awesome. Thanks, Monica. So on that note, I guess we can get it kicked off. It is 8:03 a.m. Pacific Standard Time where I am located. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bobby Mann. I'm the Maddie's Human Animal Support Services Pilot Director. So honored and excited that you're starting off your week with us and getting together to collaborate and learn about amazing things that are going on in animal welfare. But my favorite part of the week is handing it over to Mary Smith for a little bit of Monday motivation.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, April. If you guys don't know who April is, shame on us, because April not only can tell us the origin of bangs, she also has done an amazing job of looking at all of our websites and really trying to help us figure out how we can make those websites, which are the first form of communication for the planet, to know who you are and what you do, to make sure that we are really taking full advantage of everything that is available. And all of these things are pretty much available free of charge. And it's kind of sinful that we're not taking advantage of it more. So if you haven't heard April, there are a couple recordings of her presentations found on the forum as a result of Allison, who has recorded all of these sessions for us. And there's some really great information there. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. All right. So the reason we have the origin of bangs is because I confessed that last Friday during the call, I had scissors and a mirror, and I was, with scissors and a mirror, I cut my bangs. So that's kind of what I do. So if you ever want me to cut my bangs, put me in a room with a mirror and scissors, and I will show you how I do that. But I do want to say to you all, today I woke up with a certain amount of joy that I haven't found in a while. I don't know where it came from, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but I am really appreciative. For no damn reason, I feel a certain amount of joy and happiness. When I look at all of you, that is just amplified 1,000 times over, because you all have joined with us on Mondays, every Monday for the last 18 months. And that kind of dedication is pretty remarkable. So if you can't think of anything that you were successful for today, remember that you come to these calls and you've been doing this for a long time. And that definitely is what success looks like. So find some joy. If you can't find some joy, order some boots that when you put them on, they make you feel like a superhero. I did that last week. I can't walk in those boots, not yet. I'm gonna have to practice because they're not like my sneakers. But when I put them on, I feel super powerful, like even COVID-19 can't get me. So guys, thank you for letting me just be silly. Silly is always good. Have a great day.
Oh my gosh, Mary Smith, bringing the vibes, bringing the energy. And when you got that joy, what are you doing? You're spreading that shit to 84 of your best friends on a Monday morning. So I am so grateful. You even brought me from about a 7 to a 9. So I'm telling you that recipe is working right now. And speaking of April, her new hashtag is going to be April to the rescue, because one, her presentation about search engine optimization and also website optimization was so great on Friday, but we also had a last minute cancellation for the Monday call. And I emailed April last night and I was like, how about we run it back? And she said, I'll be there at probably like midnight. She emailed me. So super excited. You don't even have to go to the forum just for that recording, but I cannot encourage enough for all of you to join Maddie's Pet Forum. When we talk about staying united outside of this hour, it is really the best place. Maddie's Fund is working incredibly hard to not only help us produce great content, but they're also finding many subject matter experts that are going to be there all the time to be able to answer all the questions that we have. And also the American Pets Alive and Haas team will be actively engaging every single day. So I highly encourage you, if you have not gone to the forum and signed up, sign up. And the coolest part is there's an app. We all look at our phones through the day. And now when you get caught on Zoom, looking at your phone, you can just say, sorry, I was on Maddie's Pet Forum helping save more lives. So I got your back. Don't worry about it. So before we get it kicked off, I also see my good friend Tori here, who has a really exciting opportunity at her organization that I'd like her to share. And then after that, let's open it up for a few national updates.
Good morning. You said me, right? Okay, I was like, there was some commotion happening. Hi, I'm Tori. I'm with KC Pet Project, and I just wanted to thank Bobby for the opportunity to mention we are hiring right now for our feline foster program manager. We have a super progressive program that has dozens of volunteers, that the program just kind of runs itself almost at this point. It's pretty awesome, like how it's just a huge machine. And so we are hiring for that position along with several others at KC Pet Project right now. And you'd have the opportunity to work with more than 2,000 foster kittens each year. So I'm going to post the job link. Actually, Allison, you're so good. Already posted it in the chat. And so if anybody's interested in coming to work for us, move in Kansas City, we'd love to have you.
Thanks, Tori. And look at that. You're right. The link is in the chat already. Allison is amazing. Any other updates, national updates or local updates? We'd love to just hear from all of you. All right, well, let's get it started then, huh? So I am incredibly excited and been looking forward to this upcoming presentation for a very long time. I had the opportunity to meet Grace Lynn a couple months ago, who is a student and advocate on the West Coast that not only is trying to help pets within her community, but also honor her family in China and do some really amazing work and advocacy work where her heritage is from. So Grace, I'm gonna kick it over to you. We had a bit of technical difficulties this morning, tech issues that I think we resolved. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen of a presentation that Grace recorded just in case we had this issue, but she is here live. So Grace, I'm gonna ask you to unmute and just say hello to the folks, and then we're gonna play her presentation in just a moment.
Hi, sorry, I had some camera issues, so I had to pre-record a video, but I'm here live too. So getting back to what Mary said about putting her in a good mood, my Amazon shipment of cute Halloween costumes for my dog just got here this morning. So I'm pretty hyped to torture my dog with those outfits and take pictures of him after this call. And so yeah, basically, should I just play the video?
So I'm going to share my screen and then you're going to play the sound, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm going to do my screen share and then Grace, I'm going to give it a count of 3 and on 3, I'm going to press play. Sound good?
Yes.
All right. Can everyone see my screen? All right. Let me make sure I'm at the beginning. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Morning, everyone. I'm Grace Lynn, and I am a rising high school senior in Virginia. I hope you guys are all having a great morning.
So today I wanted to talk to everyone a bit about my family's animal rescue operation that's been going on for the past few decades back home in China. So I myself am an ABC, which stands for American Born Chinese. So while I physically am in America, I do my very best to help in a long distance-esque way with their operation back in Fuzhou, China. So Fuzhou, China is a pretty populous Chinese province, Eastern Chinese province that I would say borders the ocean. So Fuzhou is quite well known amongst the locals for having a plethora of stray domestic animals. So these are dogs, cats, even parrots, guinea pigs, sugar gliders, really any domestic pet you could think of has and will probably continue to be tossed onto the streets abandoned. So this is definitely a huge no-no with me and my family, as well as community that I'm involved in back home. So to preface it all, in China, unfortunately, and it's also something we're working on, there are very minimal, if any, actively enforced animal welfare laws and regulations. So animal homelessness is not an uncommon sight. And honestly, while there are definitely so many people like us who care so much for these animals, and it is a life's passion, and we do strongly advocate for animal welfare, it's not necessary. I wouldn't really call it a common practice in China or Fuzhou as a whole, just because there isn't as much attention brought onto the issue than it is here overseas in America, for example. So expanding on my family's rescue operation, we are a local animal rights and advocacy rescue group that started with my granny and another auntie who is very near and dear to my heart, and has grown to now be composed of over 200 active participants in the Fuzhou area, specifically the Sanshan Township or district. To make it more digestible, our operation is split into 3 primary teams. We have our rescuers. These are our lovely volunteers who go out and rescue the strays off of the streets or from abusive mistreatment situations. Then it is our injury control and care group. We have a few retired vets and animal care physicians who volunteer their time and treatment for our animals, as well as 2 local animal hospitals we frequent. So our participants in this group are responsible for taking the injured animals from the rescuer's hands and giving them the necessary treatment wherever that may be. We coordinate amongst that on our own. Then our last group, which I am most actively a part of, is our sheltering and adoption team. This includes our foster network of approximately 50 families and our operation's current pride and joy, Wanlanle. So Wanlanle roughly translates to joyful woofing or barking, and it is the name of our operation's first and currently only physical sanctuary for the pups, which now houses about 227 dogs. We were finally able to afford to rent this very large warehouse and lot in an extremely rural part of Fuzhou 2 years ago. So it is a well fenced in or even walled in plot of land that composes of a 3-story building. The first 2 the ground floor and then the second floor are individual rooms for all of our pups, and the 3rd floor is where our live-in volunteers actually reside in to care for our dogs at their every beck and call or bark and call 24/7. And outside of the building itself and within the fence, there is a grassy plot as well as a sandy plot, which the dogs spend most of their days frolicking in under the sun. Fun fact about our sanctuary is that the Hubanquan, which roughly translates to tiger striped dog, is a Chinese dog breed that is completely extinct except for 5. And all 5 are rescued by our sanctuary and currently live with us as long-term residents. So our sanctuary homes the only 5 Banchen in China, and most likely the world, since it is a Chinese breed. We use a social media platform called Weixin, or in English, WeChat, which I find very difficult to compare to any other American or more international social media platform, because WeChat is, in a way, both public and private. In this way, it is able to foster intimate and personal conversations between people while reaching a larger sea of eyes. As one of the main coordinators of our operation and the only international one, I'm working on creating a Facebook and Instagram page for our project, so that we are able to spread our operation and intentions outwards from Fuzhou and to allow attention to be drawn in on the current Chinese animal welfare situation on a much more global spectrum. So, as Bobby and I talked about in one of our conversations, this is also in part one of our efforts to break the East Asian and most popularly Chinese animal mistreatment stereotype and further promote diversity and acceptance on all levels and on a knowledgeable way. So our operation runs a WeChat group chat with hundreds of locals in it, including our operations and volunteers, where people from across the province of Fuzhou send pictures and addresses of strays and mistreated dog spottings into the group chat, where we then have volunteers like myself actively monitor. We continue to dispatch teams of around 2 to 3 rescuers, depending on the situation, to these locations across the entire province and to rescue the dogs. So our group chat contains essentially people from essentially every single district and township in Fuzhou, and we are spreading slowly but surely, one township at a time. And now that we have hit essentially every single landmark in Fuzhou, we are starting to expand to Zhejiang and outwards. So neighboring provinces and beyond, which we're spreading both advocacy on the animal welfare issue and why it's so important, both in a moral, ethical, and just community connection type of way, and also to help aid all these stray animals across the way. So we're helping both the people and the animals. It's an educational process that we are striving for. So I myself coordinate between all 3 of the previously mentioned focal teams, and I'm also in charge of the adoption aspect. So we have an extremely thorough adoption interview and screening process to truly ensure that our dogs from our foster homes and Wawanla Sanctuary are adopted into the most suitable and loving homes. So our operation's primary motif is home, the concept of home, love, family, everything homely. We are not just a cold physical building or cold people that are doing this for who knows what. We're doing it so that the dogs have a home, a true sense of a family, because that is what every dog deserves. And we truly believe it. And I truly, that is really just my life's motif. And so our fosters and our Wawanla Sanctuary treat each and every one of our fur babies as genuinely family. And we really do provide these homeless little ones with their first sense of a genuine home. We have a potential adopter screening process identical to the kind found in America, where I conduct WeChat video calls with potential adopters and make sure I get a sense of the personality of dog that they're looking for suitability to add into their family. I also look into their family background, setting of the home, and just truly pry into the character of these potential adopters, because when our dogs are so vastly and massively valued and loved from the bottom of our hearts by all of us, we would rather have our dogs live with us for as long as necessary for them to find their appropriate home, whether that be their entire lifetime at our sanctuary or with our foster families, than go to a family who then again mistreats our dogs, or then again will continue to abandon them, because we will take them back. If you are not going to love them, let us love them again then. And so once again, the concept of home comes back into play. So we're strictly no kill and absolutely no abandon. So some of our dogs have stayed with us for years and have become permanent residents. That is okay. And to clarify, China does not fund these animal welfare projects, so we are no exception. All of our vet bills, warehouse rental fees, rescue fees, food bills, and legitimately all money spent comes from our own pockets. So we run off of personal salaries and fundraising where we can. Because our current sanctuary is in a highly rural and fairly unfrequented area just because of the terrain and its distance from the main city, the populous part of Fuzhou. And because the warehouse, quite frankly, is not the most aesthetic for visitors. And because it has already surpassed its carrying capacity of 200, and we are now at 227, as well as the fact that our foster families are going through a financial pickle with the coronavirus, we have had to essentially come to a highly unwilling halt with being able to intake more strays. This leads to my current initiative being to establish the first animal shelter in the main city of Fuzhou, China. In the main city with a much more aesthetic, visitable shelter, we will both be able to reopen our operations fully once again and allow the dogs to be seen by tenfolds, if not more, potential parents in the main city. I also wanted to pop in and briefly mention something that you guys will probably also notice very soon or probably already have in these videos, is that it truly highlights the difference in ideals and opinions regarding adoption, both in comparison between China and America, because for those of us that have been through the adoption process or have worked in that process, I'm sure there's basically everyone here, most of these dogs in our sanctuary would be adopted in a split second, just like that. In America, they would be adopted so quickly. They would be pounced on. So many adoption applications would be filed for these dogs. Yet in China, it is a very slow and pulling teeth like process. So you'll see that there are so many, I would call grab and go breeds, where like the instant they're posted online or seen, they basically get adopted, because small, fluffy, white dogs are generally the ideal, but also most of these dogs would be, their personalities are absolutely amazing. We put them through behavioral training to make sure that they're all fully adoptable. So all of our dogs that we adopt out are fully vaccinated. They're all up to date in terms of health, and they have no behavioral issues. Along with that, they're absolutely adorable and so precious, no matter what. So you'll realize that there's definitely that drastic cut in between ideals and thoughts on adoption between America and China, because the screening process we have is very identical to the one in America, but it is so negatively viewed in China because people think they're doing a massive favor just by adopting, which they are, but we want to make sure that the dogs are going into the best homes possible, hence our screening process. But in China, it's not the most kindly taken. So the reason I didn't include any clips of the actual rescue process on the streets is because unfortunately they are in large part quite graphic, and I'm unsure what everyone's comfort levels are. But if you would like to see them, please do reach out to me at the email shown above. And as for what I've been working on in terms of my initiative to establish the first animal shelter in the main city of Fuzhou, China, on July 25th, so 1 or 2 weekends ago, we had our first charity event for this very cause. And so it was hosted by my American DMV-based nonprofit, Lilo, and in collaboration with the Washington Continental Tabletop Convention, UVA's HAS, which is their Human Animal Assistance Service, and as well as in collaboration with Miss Leesburg, Virginia, so the rep of Leesburg, Virginia County, 4 different Virginian animal rescues who brought over 20 adoptable dogs to our event, and as well as other organizations. And it had a wonderful turnout rate of 200 attendees, plus these organizations and the volunteers they brought along as well. So it was both super insightful and productive in terms of fundraising, as well as in terms of really being able to meet our community and understanding what people thought the needs of both domestic to the US and foreign strays were. And so it was wonderful to really be able to see that mindset come to play. Thank you.
Amazing. Thoughts, questions? Come on, folks. Grace is amazing. Let's tell her how amazing she is. And I literally did not even want to move my arms once that sound in the video were playing, because I was like, if I mess this up, it's going to ruin my whole entire week.
Sorry, I realize I'm not on mute right now. Grace, okay, so I realized that I was probably doing Google searches and not really sure if I was looking at actual Chinese tiger stripe dogs, but all dogs are beautiful, right? What is your organization's website or Facebook page?
So are you talking about the rescue operation or the
The
nonprofit?
I guess the sanctuary or
Yeah, so the only social media we have is Douyin, which is Chinese TikTok, but the link doesn't work in America, so you won't be able to see it. So that's why we're currently working on a Facebook page or something more international that other people outside of China can see too.
got it. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Grace, that was just magnificent. Thank you so much. We just, you're a high school student and you're so inspiring to us. That is just incredible. So here is just something that I want to just throw out there as, of course, an American who is not at all knowledgeable about international ways. But I will say this, we have learned so much in the United States about the whole adoption process and our relationship with the public and how that has so evolved over time that I think we used to think, we used to always be in this dilemma of, is the public the enemy or is the public our friend? And I think the pandemic has definitely showed us the public is our friend. And when we ask for help, they will be there. And so as we have learned through our adoption process, that sometimes the best thing that we can do is have conversations with people and to really to think about the best option that we can provide is really a home. Now, I think what you are doing is magnificent, is incredible. I'm so, I love the fact that you were inspired by your grandmother and your aunt. It's just an amazing family affair of epic proportions. But I would just say to you, as you, I would encourage you to stay part of this call and other calls and learn, as you learn more about the mistakes that we've made with all of these processes, you can learn from our mistakes and you can help to take us in new directions, because it's just so encouraging to hear someone as young as you speaking our language, talking about those things that are important to us, and really showing us how challenges can be overcome. So I don't really think there was a question there, Bobby, I'm sorry, but it was more just like a comment about just to say thank you.
Thank you for the advice. Yeah, definitely will stay for more.
Yeah, Mary, we are totally aligned, and Grace has been such an ambassador and has, already taught us so much through that. I mean, how do we not have little Airbnbs and volunteer places for people to stay and look at all of those amazing dogs? And I'm sure through collaboration, we're going to learn so much more about each other. But Grace, again, if you look at the chat, so many kind words. You are so inspiring to us. And when we think about the future of animal welfare being bright, it's because of people just like you. And I cannot wait to get to know you better. And hopefully you will continue to join us for a lot of these calls.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So from inspiration to some web motivation. So April Huntsman is here from Adopt a Pet, and she's brilliant. I mean, sorry for setting the stage a little too high, April, but when we think about first impressions, we always think about customer service and saying hello with a bright smile and making sure our staff are making people feel warm and welcome. What we don't think about is that's probably not the first time that people have been introduced to our brand. And where they often are introduced to our brand, we're not really giving it the time, energy, or resources. So April Huntsman's here to talk about our websites and how we can get people not only excited about our work, but even find out where the heck we are and what the heck we're doing. So over to you, April.
Thank you. Thank you everyone so much for having me and letting me talk about a topic that I know is not super interesting, but it should be more interesting. So I'm going to give kind of just an overview of what I'm going to be talking about today. First, why we should care about this. I am quite passionate about this specific topic. One, I happen to work for a website, so of course I understand this, but I think in this day and age, we really need to think more about how people are finding us and also how we can impact our community long before they ever have an interaction with us. And also, maybe they'll never have a physical interaction with us, but we can have this really large impact. I'm going to give a really basic overview of just some high level things that you should understand what the terminology is and some free tools that you guys can use right away to get started. And I'm actually going to give everybody some homework as well. So first, let's just get a baseline of where we're at. So the first question I'm going to ask here is, who makes changes to your website? And all you're going to do is look at this list and type that number in the chat. So you have anybody can make changes. You have a dedicated person that can make changes. You're using county city IT staff. You pay for website hosting and maintenance. So it's a contract person. You don't have anyone. Or you're not sure. I'm seeing lots and lots of twos. We'll give it just a few more seconds. Here come some threes. So this is really great news because a lot of you are saying that you have a dedicated person to make changes to your website. I saw a few county city staff in there. The great news, I didn't see a lot of fours, which is where you're paying for somebody else to take care of it for you. And I didn't see a lot of fives. So that's great news. And then the next question I have is, how would you rate the information you have on your website regarding your programs and services? So 1, it's a big priority for us, so we don't need any improvements. 2, it's getting the job done, but we could use some improvements. Or 3, we need major improvements and we'll take all the help we can get. I'm seeing lots of 2s and 3s. Lots of 1 to 2s as well. So it's a priority, but maybe you could use some improvements as well. So I think what I'm talking about today is very, very relevant to this group because what I'm trying to help everyone understand is how you can make improvements. And if you have somebody, it's great because those should be pretty quick to make improvements because you have somebody that can do that for you. So I'm going to use a quick analogy. Imagine that you've just landed in a new city. You just got off the airplane and you realize that you forgot to bring deodorant. Oh no. And you've got to run to the store to pick that up before you head to a meeting or you head out to your first dinner that you're on vacation. And let's imagine that the only way you know how to get to the store is you have an address of the store and you have street signs. So you know the address, you've got these street signs, you know where you need to go, you know what you need when you get there, but the only way you can actually get there is by following these street signs. And once you get to each new street sign, you've got to figure out left or right or straight. And you may eventually end up at the store, but by the time you end up at the store, you're probably pretty frustrated and may have even forgotten why you went there in the first place. Or you may never end up at that store. You may just end up at the other store that you just happen to drive by and you're like, forget it, even though I wanted to go to Target because I love Target, I'm just stopping at this little tiny store to get what I need because I don't have the time or energy to try to find what I need to get to Target. So now imagine you're going to the same place, but you open up your app and you type in the address and your navigation tells you how to get there. So it takes the thinking out of it. So you know where you need to go, you know what you need when you get there, and then the navigation is basically going to get you there. So what I'm talking about today is basically making sure that when our customers, our clients, our community need information or need access to programs, that we're not asking them to find us through street signs, and I mean like metaphorical street signs on the web. We're basically going to give them the direct way to get to us. So let's talk a little bit about the numbers, because if any of you guys know me, you know I'm going to talk about numbers. So we now spend 8 hours every single day on digital activities. Now, this used to be under 7 hours in 2019. So just the difference between 2019 and 2021, we now spend as much time on digital activities as we do sleeping. We also, 97% of consumers that go on, they will go online to find and research businesses. Nobody goes to a manual phone book anymore. Nobody calls to find out information. Everybody expects to get on their phone or get on the internet and find information about programs, services, businesses, reviews. 97% of the United States population does that. When we think about ages of people that are using the internet, there's been a lot of talk previously about, oh, it's young people who are using the internet, people who grew up with the internet. Actually, 96% of 18 to 64-year-olds use the internet daily. And even people over 65 years of age, 75% of those people are using the internet daily. So the majority of people in the United States over 18 are using the internet, and that's how they're finding you. When we think about income levels, sometimes there's some concern that people in lower income brackets don't have access to the internet, but actually 86% of household incomes under $30,000 a year still use the internet, compared to 98% of incomes over $50,000 a year. So even people who have a lower income are still using the internet for services, and they're still finding services by using the internet. And the way that they're doing that is because they're using smartphones. So 65% of users start on a smartphone. So when they need something, they immediately go to their smartphone and they're looking up information, while only 25% are starting on a PC or a laptop, and then the remaining are starting on a tablet. And this is really, really important when we think about our websites and our offerings. If 65% are starting on a smartphone, you better make sure that your website is mobile optimized and that it looks good and is easy to navigate on a smartphone device. And then the last number is 86% of all searches in the United States are done on Google. And the reason why I want to call this out is because what I'm going to talk about today is primarily related to Google. When you think about your website, searches, key phrases, when we start talking about SEO, search engine optimization, we're really going to be talking about Google, because if you make everything look great on Google, if you make sure that your website is showing up in searches on Google, you're getting 86% of all those searches. So that is where we want to start when we think about optimizing our website and making sure it shows up in the search results. And basically, the overarching theme here is that the internet is the first place that a person's going to find information and resources. And this is where they're going to start to have the impression of your organization. So long before they get to your door, long before they call you or send you an email, they've already starting to make an impression by what they're finding on the internet. And maybe they're not finding you at all. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the basics of the basics. So when we get into like website optimization, it's a really deep hole that we can go into, but I want to give you guys something that you can understand today, and you can leave today and go, okay, I got this little snippet of information. I can do this homework. So there are lots of considerations in search results. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. Yep, thank you, Allison. And this is basically, when I perform a search on any search engine, what results are going to show up? And there are considerations that Google has this algorithm, they call it, they do a crawl of the World Wide Web, and they decide what websites they're going to list highest in the search results. And these are a few of the factors that play into that. High quality and relevant content is very, very important to them. And we're talking quality content. So not just having pages and pages of content, it's got to be quality and very relevant to what people are searching. Your URL structures matters. Now, some of you are probably going to start looking at your websites right now. It actually matters if your URL structure, like right now, this shows docs.google.com presentation, and then this big long hash. You don't want to have words that don't make sense in your URL structure, and you don't want to have things like index or PHP or those kinds of things. The next thing is something called a website meta title or title tag. I'm going to show you guys some examples of this and how you can find this. But this is basically the title that the Google search engine crawler is looking at to determine if your website is relevant to the search. We also need to look at our website meta description. So this is a longer description of 150 words that crawler is looking for to see if it's relevant for the searches that are being run. And then the next thing is number and quality of other websites that link to your site. So adoptapet.com, we have thousands of shelters that are linking to our website. So our website naturally shows up higher in the search results because of the number and quality of websites that are linking back to us. Another reason that we are going to show up higher in the search results is because of the number of people that visit our site and our content and our URL structure, right? So we know that people are coming to us because our structure is adoptapet.com. When they search adopt a pet, our URL structure actually fits what they're searching. And then there are lots of other considerations that are also being evaluated. So bounces and clicks, your site loading speed, whether or not your content is unique. Basically, if you were to look at a chart here, you can see it's pretty complex on the Google algorithm, but there are places you can start to have a very, very quick impact, and that's those things I listed in those bullets. So we are going to watch a quick video of how the search is going to look, and you guys have all run these searches. I'm just going to quickly explain the results and what you're looking at. So I'm searching surrender my cat, and you can see we've got some ads. So these are paid. We actually get some results with addresses. We get this people also ask, also known as PAA. And then we're getting into the organic results, and you can see Animal Humane Society, which is nowhere near me, is showing up because they have such good SEO. Then we get rehome by adoptapet.com because of our SEO. I don't actually get to a shelter where I'm located until the 8th result. Now I'm going to change the term to rehome my cat, and I get completely different results. So now I get 3 ads. These are paid per click ads. Rehome's one of those. We do have an ad Google grant. Rehome shows up top because our SEO for rehome my cat is really high. We don't actually get to a shelter for rehome. That's my local shelter until I believe the 10th result on this one. I'm still getting national results because they have better SEO where I am than my shelter. So I don't know if Utah Humane Society is on this call, but basically I would be telling Utah Humane Society, we've got to work on your SEO when it comes to surrender and rehome, because people aren't finding you. They're finding national organizations. They're finding rehome by adoptapet.com, which is okay. But we, of course, at rehome always want people to not go to the shelter physically with their pet, but contact the shelter to see if the shelter can offer resources on keeping the pet. And you can see how just changing that term, that one keyword from surrender my cat to rehome my cat, changed the results completely. So here's my first tool that everybody, I want you to put it into your URL, your reading list, your bookmarks. You're going to love this website because this is a free website from Google that basically shows you search trends over time. So you can see here that I put in 3 search terms. So I said surrender my dog, rehome my dog, and get rid of my dog. Now, as animal welfare professionals, we may think of surrender my dog. Oh, that's what people are searching. I know rehome's less of a term that the public uses, but look at this. This shows you that get rid of my dog is actually the highest search term when you look at those 3 compared to each other. So we want to make sure that when we're building out content, even though get rid of my dog may be offensive to us as animal welfare professionals, that is what the public is searching. So we want to make sure that our website shows up when people are searching that term. So it doesn't matter what we think about the terminology or the phrases that people are using. For instance, somebody might say, sell my dog. It doesn't matter what we think of that. What matters is that when somebody says that and searches that in the Google, is that they find us. And so I really want us to kind of leave our biases around terminology when we get into SEO, when we start looking at our website, that we need to meet the person and help them get to us, right? And we don't want to have them using and getting to the wrong place. We want them to get to us where we can potentially help them. For instance, Adopt a Pet, we have the search term buy a puppy. Even though we don't want people to go out and buy puppies, buy is very subjective. So we want those people to come to Adopt a Pet. I also am showing you here an example of foster. So this is foster a dog, foster a cat, and foster a pet. Something interesting here is that you don't see a huge difference between foster a cat, foster a pet. Foster a dog is always the highest when you look at those three comparatively. But you'll notice during the pandemic, that big spike, that was the very beginning of the pandemic. We see a slight increase in foster a cat and foster a pet. But what were people really searching? Foster a dog. That's what they were actually searching in the beginning of the pandemic. So it was very specific to dogs. And you can add lots of comparisons. You can change the date range here. This is a free tool that everybody please go play with and start to understand search terms. So this is the second tool I recommend that everybody just quickly add as a Chrome extension. This is actually, I did American Pets Alive website just as an example. This is called SEO Minion, and this is going to allow you to quickly see on any website. You guys can actually run this on adoptpet.com. You can run this on your own website. You can run this on Amazon. You can run it on wherever you want. But it actually shows us the URL structure. So we can see here the URL for their main page is austinpetsalive.org. We can see how many words and characters are on that page. So 911 words, we've got 8,000 characters. We can see the meta title. So this title is Austin Pets Alive Home. It's only 25 out of 60 characters. So I would recommend to them that they increase their title and get it up to that 60 characters, because the crawler is looking and will allow for up to 60 characters. So if they were to add additional things in their meta title, they could get picked up and get higher in the search just by using those additional 35 words or 35 characters. The description, this is the meta description here. And what you see is that triangle, which tells you that they're actually over their character limit. So they're at 153 over 150. Now, this isn't like critical, because all that's missing out on their description is the 2 letters in euthanasia, IA, and the period. But you'll see some websites that have no description, and you need to have a meta description on every single page, because that is how Google is going to find your page and serve it up in those organic search results. Or you'll see websites that have 400 characters as their description. Well, guess what? Google's cutting off anything after 150 and not looking at that description for those key phrases to serve up your results. So you just want to make sure you're right there at that 150. And you should be looking at this for every single page and every single URL that you have publicly. And then as we scroll down into this SEO minion, you'll also see how many headers you have, what types of headers. I'm not going to get into depth about headers. My homework for you is going to be related to the titles, the descriptions. You guys can actually go into YouTube and see how to use this absolutely free tool and look into all of these things. This is a table, basically, you can download with all of the information as well, so you don't have to copy and paste. And then the next thing I'm going to show you in this video is checking your links. So some of our websites have a lot of links, and this actually allows us to check those links and see how many are external and internal. Remember how we talked about that external linking? So you could go to adoptpet.com and see how we're externally linking. You could go to ASPCA and see how they're externally linking. So you could look at some other websites for some examples. This also allows you to check for broken links. So rather than somebody who's like monitoring all the time, especially if you're linking externally, you can just run this monthly to see how many of your links are broken, both internally and externally. It's going to go through and validate all of those links for you. And then it will actually, you can click through them and say, oh, show me the redirects, show me the 404, which are broken links. If there's empty links, for instance, with Austin Pets Alive, it's because it's called a modal or a pop-up. So the reason why it's empty is because when you click on it, it gives you that pop-up, but you can actually click on it and then see, and it will also give you all of your redirects, so you can check those links as well. And it will also give you all of your external links if you want to see those as well. So you can look through all of your links on every single page. The last way to use SEO Minion as a free tool is to understand our key, our search phrases. So we're going to type in, I can't remember what I did on this one, maybe volunteer. Nope, foster a dog. And what we're going to see on that right-hand side is that I can actually, rather than analyzing this full page to understand why these are showing up in the search results, this will allow me to download all of those results. And then I can see the full list of URLs, the meta titles, and the meta descriptions. So I can start to understand why I showed up lower in the results versus some of these other organizations. The other thing I can do is this PAA, people also ask. So I can do an analysis of there as well to see what are people asking and what content should I put on my site based off what people are asking. One of the interesting things I saw here was that quite a few people ask if you get paid to foster dogs. That's another question that we as animal welfare professionals might find offensive. Like people are asking if you get paid for this, come on. But if people are asking it, you need to have an answer for it, and just explain how fostering works, because that is a question people ask. So we need to make sure we have content for that on our website. So here's your homework. The first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is, even if you use Internet Explorer or you're using some other browser, I highly recommend that you have Chrome on a computer somewhere, a laptop, and you put SEO Minion on it, and that you start using this absolutely free tool to understand your web pages, your URLs, your meta titles, and meta descriptions. And then the other thing I just want to call out about the browsers is I used to work for county government, so I know that sometimes you're very limited and you have to use Internet Explorer, but the world does not use Internet Explorer. So make sure you're looking at this from the lens of what your users are using, and your users are using Chrome and Safari as their browsers, and then Google as their search engine. I recommend you pick one program or service that you want to evaluate your online presence for. So what's the one program or service you want to see? You want to see more adoptions, or you want to see more fosters, or you want to see more donations, or you want to see more pets returned home. Just pick a program and then have that SEO minion evaluate your pages. Use Google Trends to get a better understanding of what key phrases people may be searching related to that program. So if you're choosing lost pet reunification, you might want to search lost my dog, lost my pet, lost my cat, cat got out, dog ran away. There's like 100 different phrases that you might want to list out in an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, and just start searching those to understand, is that what the public is searching, or is that what I think they're searching? And then I recommend that you ask family, friends, volunteers that match your demographic to try finding your website. So give them the scenario: you've lost a pet. What's the first thing you do? Have them go into search, watch them, or ask them to record their screen while they're doing it. Ask them to find your website, the information on that service, and to give you feedback, and to give you real feedback, not like, oh, it was easy. Real feedback of, actually, I mean, I found it eventually, but it was really hard for me because I had to keep scrolling through the page, or it didn't really have information how I could actually pick up my pet. You could also ask people that you've had the interaction with already to review your website after you've given them the service, and say, what could you do to make it better? And then the last thing I recommend is that you consider recruiting a volunteer. I know a lot of you guys mentioned that you have a specific team member, but I'm guessing that team member probably specializes in one or the other. Perhaps they specialize in website updates and not necessarily on SEO. So I would definitely consider recruiting a volunteer specifically for SEO, and a separate one for your website. And this is something that can be done anywhere in the world, really, but anywhere in the United States. You don't have to have a volunteer who comes into your organization to help you understand your SEO. They literally can just go to your website. You see, I did this on Austin Pets Alive. I'm in Utah, and I was evaluating their website in Texas. So something that could easily be volunteered for. And, you know, so many people want to help animals, and they just don't know how to use their skills. What an amazing way to get technical people to really have an impact on communities and animals without, you know, requiring them to come in and actually help take care of the animals. And that's the last slide. I didn't include a slide with my contact information, so I'll throw that in the chat. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a request, April, as people are just like processing that amazingness. So our goal is to get all of you to sign up on Maddie's Pet Forum. Please go to Maddie's Pet Forum. So how about if you are not signed up on Maddie's Pet Forum and you sign up today, Charlotte will run the list of our new signups, and April, maybe you and I can do an audit of those folks' website for them. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. So if you really, really want us to get in the weeds of your website for you, please sign up today, and we will announce a winner next week. See, Mary, no shame in my game. You see this?
There you go. Bobby, I also wanted to help everybody who may or may not understand the context by which April is sharing all this wonderful information. And you want to just to understand that bigger picture, Maddie's Fund has created a marketing course. It's called the Fun, F-U-N, Fundamentals of Marketing. It's in our Maddie's University, and it's free. It's self-paced, and later in the year, we're going to be offering an online apprenticeship, and we'll have speakers such as April, perhaps to be able to go deeper in the how-to. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And I would love, if you already have a good handle on marketing, I would love your feedback. So if you would take it, and there's a feedback mechanism in the course, that would be super helpful as we develop the course further into the online. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, or is everybody on Google Trends right now looking up the difference between buy a pit bull and adopt a pit bull and community cats and feral cats? Yeah.
Hey, Bobby, it's Kathy from Canada. I note that the ending of that URL for Google Trends that you had up, April, and that Allison put in the chat ends with GOUS. So I'm guessing that I'm not going to be using that one.
They offer it for Canada as well.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting is you can look at trends in the United States compared to any other country.
Oh, cool.
So if you wanted to see like adopt a dog in Canada compared to the US compared to Mexico,
Wow.
You can actually look at the search terms in different.
Oh, did she freeze for everyone?
Yeah, but
She's nodding her head.
But Kathy, don't worry. We know where to find April. We know where to find you.
Okay.
So,
Just come to the Canadian border, which is now open for fully vaccinated Americans, and say, I want to talk to Kathy from Canada.
I'm sure that'll go perfectly well with customs. No problem at all. I will absolutely do that, Kathy.
Did the customs folks know you?
No, Sharon, they don't.
You might want to send them some cookies.
I don't want the customs people to know me, Sharon.
Oh, okay.
So, April, are you back with us?
Yes, I just wanted to call out, if you want a copy of this presentation, we will add it into Maddie's University. I know some of you guys may be interested in that, so I will add the copy there so that, not that I don't want emails from all of you, but that way you can easily find it and you can share it out as well so that it's there. So that's another reason to join the forum today if you want a copy of this presentation.
Thank you so much, April. And also we can ask questions and comment and talk to each other right on the forum. So highly encourage it. We have a new listing for every week. So we'll have something up a little later today about today. Just a really quick shout out for next week. We're going to have the Montana Institute here talking about the science of positive, actually, just about how positive change can be implemented into your culture and community by using positive strategy. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. And we're also going to have breakout rooms. So we're going to be breaking out into different elements of HOS, and we're going to have subject experts here to be able to answer questions for you. But most importantly, we want to hear about what you want to learn about. So it's really going to be about hearing from you. So whether it's self-supported rehoming, whether it's lost and found, whether it's field services, if you have questions, we want you to ask those questions, and then we're going to find experts to answer those questions for you in the future. So to close this out, I'm going to toss it over to Mary Smith.
Thanks, everybody. This has just been such a great morning. Grace, you're amazing. Thank you so much for sharing so much of the great work that you're doing. I so appreciate it. And April, we know you have a regular job in addition to all this other stuff. So thank you, David and Adopt-a-Pet, for always being able to make April available to us. Seriously, if we don't do better, shame on us. So thank you all. Have a great week. Remember, find joy, be silly. It's all good.